I hope you're all well. I said I would be back with another video soon, so here I am. Sorry, it has taken a little longer than I planned. So I've got to do a bit of baking because, you know, it's a funny time right now, and I think baking is something really fun and quite relaxing and nice to do, especially like in these uncertain times. So as it's Easter weekend, I thought I'd do some Easter egg blondies, which I've never made before, but they look delicious, so I thought I'd give them a try. So I've actually got my cameraman, which is my boyfriend, filming this at the moment, as I don't have a tripod, so I thought, you know, can't let that put me off filming. I'm just going to do it anyway, work with what we've got. So let's get started. I've just washed my hands, obviously that's super important. And I've got the recipe up here on my iPad, and the first thing to do is to preheat the oven to 190 degrees or 170 if you've got a fan oven. So that's all done. I've also prepped some of the ingredients just because I thought it would be a lot easier. So I've measured everything out, but as we go through I will explain what it is, how much of everything, and I will leave a link to the recipe as well for you. Yeah. I've got all the ingredients laid out in front of me, all prepped, all measured out, just thought that would be easier. So I'll run through everything now for you. So starting with we've got some light brown sugar here, 150 grams of. We've then got 250 grams of unsalted butter cut into 8 pieces. Then 125 grams of caster sugar. Got some sea salt, we're just going to need a pinch of that, some vanilla essence, which we'll need 1.5 tablespoons of. Now the recipe is for 300 grams of plain flour, but at the moment, you know, baking ingredients especially are really hard to get in the supermarket, so I'm actually using gluten-free plain flour, which might work a little bit different. I've had a bit of a Google and found out what I can do to help it. So I've got the 300 grams gluten-free plain flour, and then I've actually added in a teaspoon of baking powder, as I've heard that will help the process with this being gluten-free. And then I've got 2 large eggs. And then obviously to go on top of the blondies, lots and lots of mini eggs. So the first part of the recipe is to melt the butter in with the sugars, and to do that I'm going to do it on the hob. So I've got a small saucepan here, and I'm just going to put this up medium to low heat. So that's about right. And add in my butter. And I'm just going to let that melt itself before adding in the sugars. The butter is melting away nicely. I just wanted to put it out there, I am not a professional baker at all. I love doing it, don't get me wrong, I really enjoy baking, but I'm definitely going to make a few mistakes along the way. So we'll see how these turn out, hopefully nice, because I want a little Easter treat to enjoy, but yeah. See, I don't want to burn the butter either, so I'm just going to make sure that that's not too hot. Once this is all melted down, I can then add in both the sugars. Okay, so now that's all melted, I'm going to add in the caster sugar and the light brown sugar. You can put them both in at the same time, probably make a load of mess. No, all good. And it says to just stir these in and cook for a few minutes until the butter is all absorbed and the mixture's like a toffee, which sounds delicious. So I'm just going to gently mix that around. I'm actually super excited to see how these turn out. I've not made anything like this before. I mean, I've made brownies in the past, but not for ages, and these are blondies, so they're a little bit different. So I've melted those together, and it's been cooking away for like just a few minutes. I've been stirring it as well, and it looks so good. It's like a toffee, and it's all smooth and glossy, that's what it's meant to look like, so it's going well so far. I'm just going to take it off the heat and just leave that there. It says to just let that cool down, so we'll move on to that again in a bit. I've got the butter and sugar mixture just cooling down over there, and I'm going to move on to the next bit, which is to mix up whisk up the eggs, the vanilla and the salt. So let's start with the eggs. So I've got 2 large eggs in here. I'm actually going to whisk them in here first and then pour them in. I don't know why, I just prefer to do that. Just put them into a separate bowl. So there's 1. And try and not get any shell in. Perfect. And just whisk that up. Actually, this bowl is a bit too small to use a whisk in, but you know, I'll jug. Right, let's pour that in the bowl. That will be easier. And I'm just going to whip.
Whisk.
I'm just going to whisk those up nicely. Eggs are pretty hard to get at the moment as well, so we're pretty lucky getting them. Yeah. I'm now going to add a pinch of salt, which I'm just going to pour the tiniest bit I can. This is sea salt. So it's a pinch.
To be honest, I wasn't even looking.
I might put a little bit more in to see if I can say that. And 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla essence. There we go. And I'm just going to whisk those all up together. Next I'm going to go and grab the sugar and butter mixture to add in here. Oh, it honestly looks like toffee. So I'm just going to pour this in. It has cooled down slightly. It smells so good as well. Put that all in there. And I'm just going to whisk this all together. What are you all doing in lockdown? Are you working from home? Are you out working as a key worker? Are you no longer working and indoors? I'm not currently working, so I'm at home all the time obviously. Been going out for my daily walks. I even got up really early this morning and went out for a little run, which is not like me. I'm normally still in bed, struggle to get up, really lazy, and think about going for a run but never do. So I'm actually quite proud of myself. Now that's all mixed in, I'm going to add the flour. I'm going to add this gradually just so it doesn't make too much of a mess. So add a bit at a time. Also as well, because I am using gluten-free plain flour rather than just plain flour, I have had a Google about what I can do, and it says to just add a teaspoon of baking powder and then just gradually add a bit of water as well, just to rehydrate the mixture. So I'm going to see how that works out. Hopefully then it will kind of act the same as normal plain flour. A little bit more. It seems like so much flour. I mean, it's 300 grams, which is, I guess, quite a lot. This is where I start to get flour everywhere, I bet you, and all over me. I shouldn't have worn a black dress. It's going to show up. I think baking's a really nice thing to do actually. Like when you are stuck at home, it's just something nice, as long as you've got all the ingredients obviously. it is something just nice to do, and then you get some nice treats out of it. I think we're really lucky as well with the weather. I don't know about anyone else, but I've been making the most of it and sitting in the garden, even got sunburn in 20-degree heat. But I'm using a silicone whisk, which, I mean, it's great, but when the mixture gets as thick as it is now, it's hard work. I mean, if you've got an electric whisk, I guess you could use that. It would be 10 times easier. Definitely using my muscles here. So now the flour's in, I'm just going to add my baking powder. Like I said, this isn't actually on the recipe, but because I am using the gluten-free, I am going to add that in. And the mixture is looking thick. I think it's probably thicker than it should be. So I am going to add a little bit of water as well. Okay. Right, so that is all mixed, but I mean, look at the state of it, the whisk. This is what I'm working with. It's all just bent up into one thing. But, you know, oh well. I think it's all mixed in. Actually, I don't know. I'm just adding a little bit of water at a time, just to, like I said, it said hydrate the mixture, so that is what I'm doing. So before I started, I actually lined a baking tin. This is like a 8-inch square one, which is exactly what the recipe said, so I'm really happy that I had one. So I've just lined that all ready for the mixture to go in. So, looking good. Going to make sure all of this mixture is in. All the mixture is now in the baking tin, ready for the oven. And you may be wondering where the mini eggs are, because they haven't gone in yet. I haven't forgotten them, although that is probably something I would do. The mini eggs are here, and this is actually going to go in the oven for 20 minutes, as it is. Whilst this is in the oven, I'm going to cut up the mini eggs, and then after 20 minutes this is coming out, and I'm going to add the mini eggs in. It will obviously be slightly cooked. I'm going to just push them in the top, and then this will go back in the oven for around 10 minutes, or until it's like golden, but it looks cooked. So yeah. Whilst that's in the oven, I am just chopping up these mini eggs. It's actually harder than it sounds because they're so like hard on the outside. Don't worry if you don't get them like in half. Some of these have gone into like 4. And feel free to eat some because I definitely have. The smell when you open the packet of mini eggs is just too good. Obviously at the moment this is my second video, so I am super new to YouTube. I'm still super nervous every time I like put a video out. I'm filming it, you know, everything like that. And obviously the current situation, it is a little bit tricky to do videos. I have so many ideas, but for post-lockdown, when we're finally out. And so, you know, I've got loads of ideas for them, but for now, if there is anything in particular that you'd like me to film, any type of video, you know, cooking, anything at home, I would love some suggestions. What I'm going to do is actually leave a link to my Instagram, which will probably be below somewhere, And if you head over to there, I'll set up a poll and then you can just put in any suggestions. I would absolutely love some feedback. I think it's so helpful, especially like when you are starting out and you don't really know what you're doing and you want to do some interesting content, then yeah. So thank you in advance. Oh, that's interesting. It's definitely risen. So it's out of the oven, it's been in for 20 minutes and I think it looks alright. I mean, it looks a bit unusual, but it has got longer to go. So the next part is to add in these mini eggs, which I have chopped up. And obviously you need to be really careful because the tin is going to be really hot. But it says just to scatter them over the top. And don't worry if like it cracks, because it will crack in places. And then just like evenly spread them out and just like kind of push them into the cake. Obviously the cake is still soft because it's not cooked to the middle, so they will go in really easily. And obviously if you want to add other things you can. I've actually got like chocolate chips which you could add in, or any other type of egg. Add as many as you want. I might actually chop up a few more things and just pop them on top, just so it's really nice and chocolatey. But so far, so good. Like, it looks so good. I'm such a chocoholic as well, so this to me is like a dream. But it's gonna go back in for around 10 minutes. I mean, it says till it's golden, and it is already a bit golden, but I'm just gonna put it in for a little bit longer because it is quite gooey. But it should be slightly undercooked because obviously when you take it out, it will carry on cooking for a little while, and you want it to be like a bit like a cookie dough texture. So yeah. Hopefully it's good. It's out of the oven and it looks good, I think. Hopefully it tastes good. It's just cooling down. I'm gonna let it cool down for like 15 minutes and then cut it all up into pieces and I'll show you then. And here they are, all done. Hopefully they taste good. I think they look pretty nice. Thank you so much to anyone that has watched this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. And I'd love to know if you decide to make these too, so please pop in the comments if you do and let me know how it went. I'll be back soon with another video.